Hey Brianna, welcome to the Live Sattviko Talks.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you. So, Brianna, this time, there is an interesting discussion that we would like to have with you. And I think before we get into the discussion, I think we would love to hear a little about how your yoga journey started. I went through a LinkedIn profile, also Instagram, and I can say it's amazing. I don't have words to describe how well you have been able to live up to the expectations of a yogic lifestyle. And I think love to also hear more about that, and if you can share a little more about yourself with our viewers.
Okay, sure. So, of course, I have present experience, and things started probably a decade ago. I was thinking about that yesterday because I'm 25 now. I started when I was 15, so I I actually started in a boarding school type setting. I was sent to like a wilderness program in Utah. I had a friend there who was Hindi and definitely had brought the idea of yoga into our daily practice, hiking, yoga, all that. So it made a world of a difference. And that was kind of where I was introduced to some of the basics like pranayama, so the breathing exercises. And basically this after I left that program and went to boarding school, I think my family had selected a place that had horses and yoga, just because I had expressed, I found this cool, yoga practice. And so the school I went to after that did have yoga. It was once a week, and I just was kind of in the motions, or going through the motions, like doing the asanas, but not thinking about quieting the mind. I'm like trying to like do the splits sometimes. Like I just remember I was literally at some point just going for flexibility, but so it was kind of that fake it till you make it type of beginning for me. And then I actually left that school, went to another school in Utah, and that was where I met my guru. He inspired my meditative, sharing my skills that I hadn't realized I could really share at that point, but he pushed me to teach. He pushed me to just casually in the classroom. But that was how I started. Yeah, and then later.
So I think it's a very interesting thing that you mentioned something about guru. And I think in the yogic traditions, we are all yoga practitioners. So can you also share a little about the significance of a guru? Because we hear this word a lot, the guru. How and why is it so important to have somebody like a guru? This was not a part of her questions, but I still want to ask you as you touch that topic up.
Sure. So for me, he's my guru. Like everyone, when you kind of look back at your life, once, whether you're in your beginning, wherever you are, in your journey with yoga or Ayurveda, whatever, then like you'll look back and you'll know who it was that really made the difference for you, how they touched your life. And I think one of my favorite things is just having that mental, place where I can think of him, or, look at a picture of him, and I'm reminded of everything that meant to me, even though I only worked with him or studied, him for so long. I've had other gurus, but, he was like my first, he was a pivotal point in my life. That's how I kind of think of it.
That's so awesome. And I think that's why the tradition of a guru and shishya, the student relationship, is so highly auspicious in our yogic practice. In fact, I remember my own time when I was deeply in need of somebody to guide me. And I was doing yoga, but I didn't have a guru at that point of time. And when I was introduced to a guru, who I consider as somebody who transformed me and my life, I think my life started changing. My entire yoga practice started getting more deeper. So yeah, it's so phenomenal to get a guru, and thank you so much for sharing that insight about guru. Yeah, another question, you're just 25, you just said, and I was looking at the kind of work that you do. How are you able to balance so much, in your life with the profession, yoga, modeling, so many things, Ayurveda? How do you do that?
I think similar to, luckily when I did first start, I knew I had this mindset of like, okay, so yoga, this is what I thought yoga was. You just relax, you're in these crazy positions and you just relax into them. That's what I thought when I was really young. And I mean, I am still young, and I do sometimes still tell myself that, like I'll go to work 8 a.m., chatting with doctors, and I will tell myself, as long as I'm still talking about Ayurveda, I'm still like making those kind of bonds through Ayurveda, because, a lot of people do know about Ayurveda yoga, but it's like, it's been easier to balance life using the skills that Ayurveda just teaches and offers, always has.
So, traditionally, as far as I know, because you are like very deep into Ayurveda, but my guru used to tell me that in the ancient times, the Ayurveda doctors, they had to be great chefs, because if they could cook very tasty medicines, which could really taste well, you would never take them, right? Is that true?
Right. It's true. Some of them are a little bitter, but there's always a way to, yeah.
Of course. So, because we touched upon that topic of Ayurveda, so I think in this food yoga nutrition talks, our idea is to basically talk more about nutrition. And that's one of the topics that we as yoga practitioners really don't talk about. We post a lot of these asanas and poses on Instagram. We post information for our for our students, for our followers, but we really don't talk too much about what should be the right nutrition for somebody who's into the yogic practice. So you being an Ayurveda doctor, at the same point of time a yoga practitioner and a yoga guru, what defines nutrition for a yoga practitioner?
I think of the 3 pillars. That's just where my mind goes. We want to nourish our body. And in order to do that, we need to be able to digest and assimilate, whether it's physical food or mental food, what we feed our senses. So I think of the pillars of ahara, vihara, and nidra. So that's the diet, the lifestyle, and sleep. So those are helpful for just making sure that you are well nourished, you're not malnourished. But of course, yoga and Ayurveda do go hand in hand. So having Ayurvedic foods, making sure that they, like if it's a different quality, such as sattva, rajas, tamas. So sattva would be kind of like Sattvik foods are inherently peaceful foods. Like some vegans, they have a very Sattvik diet
High in
usually.
prana.
Yes.
High in prana. Yeah.
Yes. So then, rajasic foods. Some people would think, okay, leftovers, or maybe dairy, meat, animal products, things that are kind of so sattva, rajas, and then tamas, like tamasic foods, that would be anything kind of really like heavy, addictive, could be spoiled leftovers, who knows. So depending on what a person eats, of course there are herbs that are sattvic, rajasic, that can be used almost to get people out of a tamasic or a rajasic place, but it is usually encouraged, the sattvic diet.
Of course. So one of the things that Brianna, a lot of viewers ask us as a question, a lot of us know about the Sattvik, Rajasic and Tamasic foods, but that is more technically. And we want to understand in a common man's language, when you say Sattvik and you said you are Tridoshik and you also rely a lot on the Dinacharya. I mean, these are some so beautiful things to kind of follow, but for a common man, what this would signify as? I mean, how do you really say that if I am a yoga practitioner, what should I eat before yoga? What should I eat after yoga? And what should be the kind of dinacharya that I should be having in terms of food?
Right. Right, like you said, there are different prakriti vikriti. So my prakriti would be more tridoshik. I do have that pitta, vata, kapha, pitta, kapha, vata type composition. So, of course, my prakriti, my constitution, and my vikriti, I work on both with my whether it's in the morning, or in the evening. The time of day comes into play for each individual person. If it's like high noon, I'm not gonna have blueberries or something. I'm gonna make sure that I'm having my heaviest meal or my most, it's gonna hold me over because the digestive enzymes, the agni, is most strong then. So other people probably experience the same thing because we're all human. And then, I think we talked a little bit about breakfast foods, how that can be kind of a generalized thing, having the fruit, then having, a soup, like a green soup, or having a hot cereal, something has prana, like you said, and it's gonna start your day well. But it does depend on the season, the time of day, whatever prakriti vikriti.
Of course. And I think in yoga, we also talk about something called fasting a lot. So do you have any views on fasting? I mean, should yoga practitioners be practicing something like a full day fast where, we kind of abstain from any sort of food? I mean, do you have any recommendations on that part?
I don't think there's anything wrong. I think of pratyahara, it's like the removal of the, kind of senses and kind of quieting. It can be helpful for achievement of dharana, dhyana, like these meditative places that the yoga comes into play. So if you're, it's almost like a challenge for yourself. That's how I think of it. I try to keep my diet pretty, straightforward. If I do fast, it will usually be, I'll skip dinner.
So thank you, Brianna. We are moving to the last stage of our interview. And I think one of the very personal questions I would like to ask you, I see a photo at your back, on your right. I mean, if you don't mind, can I ask you, is he your guru or whose photo is that?
So this is Dhanvantri.
Okay. Wow. The creator of Ayurveda.
Yes.
That's so beautiful.
I'm in my kitchen. So
beautiful. I think this is so inspirational. And in fact, Brianna, we at Sattviko, we also are trying to help people with the nutrition when they actually take up the yoga practice. And I think a lot of these views that you have shared, we will ask the viewers to also reach out to you, or if they have any more questions, they can reach out to us. We also create a lot of these foods which are native to the birthplace of yoga, which is India, and we kind of follow these principles of a yogic diet. So we would also love to, get in touch with you in the future to understand how we can enhance our offerings and how we can actually help people to adopt a more yogic lifestyle. Like, I mean, you are so inspirational. You have a Dhanvantri, photo in your back. I mean, I just read about Ayurveda. That's it. I just don't know beyond that, and you are actually practicing that entire life. So hats off to you, Brianna.
Thank you. I'd love to. Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. Thank you, Brianna, and it was so awesome to have you on our food yoga nutrition talks. Namaste and Hare Krishna.